Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Saturday, September 24th, 2016. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, where we bring you today's top stories translated into English every weeknight. Despite measures taken by the Bank of Albania and the Ministry of Finance, the level of defaulted loans increased during the first 6 months of this year. The Bank of Albania publicized their financial stability report, which notes that the ratio of non-performing loans in the banking sector reached 20%, up from the end of 2015's 18.2%. Business loans make up the largest increase in non-performing loans. According to the Bank of Albania, businesses show a 3% increase in defaulted loans in comparison to the end of 2015. The growth in non-performing loans points to difficulties banks have had with their settlement processes and the need to... The growth in non-performing loans points to difficulties banks have had with their settlement processes and shows a need to monitor them more closely. The Bank of Albania expects the trend of defaulted loans to decline, although their numbers may fluctuate. As a result, the Bank of Albania will carefully monitor the bank's operating systems in order to discern non-performing loans early. According to the Bank of Albania, the approval of the bank's bankruptcy draft law will have a very important impact on banks, debtors, and other entities that interact in the processes of resolving the debt problem. The vetting law, which was approved on August 30th with 88 votes from the majority and which enters into force on October 8th, establishes all the institutions that will assess the judges and prosecutors, namely the Independent Qualification Commission, the College of Appeal, the Public Commissioner, and the International Monitoring Operation. Assessment of the property and professional integrity of judges and prosecutors will be made based on this law. Democrats have chosen to abstain from voting on the vetting law and furthermore to take the law to the Constitutional Court over 3 issues: the intensified role of the internationals, unspecified deadlines for reassessment, and the governing bodies which will implement the candidates' compliance. The Constitutional Court will face the largest challenge in the last 25 years, as it will have to examine a law which will now create a conflict of interest, as 3 Constitutional Court members will be reviewing the law which provides for their reassessment. The law on special structures against corruption, which is sponsored by the United States, establishes the special prosecutor, the special courts, and the National Bureau of Investigation. These institutions exclusively will investigate senior officials for corruption offenses and organized crime. The 10 prosecutors in the special prosecution and officers of the National Bureau of Investigation will be trained by U.S. experts, assisted by information technology and economic crime experts. This law is expected to be voted on in the Ad Hoc Commission on Judicial Reform meeting on Monday. The law on the organization and functioning of the prosecutor's office in the Republic of Albania regulates the work of the prosecution and the relationship between the Prosecutor General's office and the district's prosecution. This law empowers the district prosecution to organize work independently from the Prosecutor General's office. The law was approved in the Ad Hoc Commission but was opposed by the Democratic Party, claiming that it disintegrates the prosecution's work and creates the so-called islands of prosecution of districts by reducing the authority of the general prosecutor. The law on the status of judges and prosecutors is the law that regulates the judicial body rights and obligations, career development, and their ethical and professional evaluation. This law, which was also approved with only the votes of the majority, as the opposition boycotted, determines the salaries of judges, which will decrease from the earlier draft. The law on organizing the judiciary in the Republic of Albania sets the rules concerning the organization and functioning of the courts powers and sizes, as well as the internal organization of the courts in terms of administration and status of civil servants. The law on governing bodies of the justice system is the law that gives life to all the new bodies which will form the judicial system. The focus will be on determining the rules and principles of the organization and functioning of the Council of Appointments in the judiciary, the High Judicial Council and the High Prosecution Council, which are the governing bodies of the new justice system and of the Senior Judicial Inspectorate. The last law, which has not been discussed yet, is the law on the organization and functioning of the Constitutional Court. This law defines the rules of the highest justice institution in the country. The 7 supportive laws of the constitutional amendments will be presented in the September 19th plenary session for voting. A great deal of debate is expected as the opposition is still not expected to vote for any of the laws and has warned of a legal battle, beginning with sending the vetting law to Constitutional Court. Leaders from countries along the Balkan migration route gathered today in Vienna to discuss ways to better protect the external EU borders. In the meeting where Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama participated, Austrian Chancellor Christian Kern has also invited Greek Premier Alexis Tsipras and German Chancellor Angela Merkel, representing 2 main European entry and destination points for refugees and migrants. The Chancellor of Austria, Christian Kern, said that the summit provides help in finding common solutions. Chancellor Kern wants to increase aid for refugees and migrants in their regions of origin. One cannot be satisfied with the speed with which these questions are being dealt with, Kern said ahead of the talks. The summit is meant to be a step in the right direction and to help create pressure to finding common solutions to these questions soon. At the last such meeting in February in Vienna, leaders from Balkan countries and Austria decided to close the Balkan route. Besides Austria, Germany, and Turkey, the Vienna meeting includes representatives from Macedonia, Serbia, Albania, Croatia, Slovenia, Bulgaria, Romania, and Hungary. EU Migration Commissioner Dimitris is also in attendance. President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, is also present at the summit. Prime Minister Edi Rama reacted on his social networks over the allegations made against him concerning the waste law. What is being said to people for the new waste law is defamation aimed at intimidating them and use the people against the government, says Rama, who adds, "We did not betray Albanians when we stopped importing garbage from abroad. We did not betray them when we passed the new law, which has nothing to do with allowing imported waste to be buried in Albania. We will never betray Albanians for any interest that conflicts with their interest or with our children's interest." According to the Prime Minister, the new law is just a normalization of life for the recycling industry. It is 100% under the Green EU law, which buys waste paper, plastic, aluminum, or wood and turns them into raw materials for the production of packaging, plastic bottles, aluminum cans, or bioheating material. We were the only country in Europe without this law, and today we are just like other countries in our region or in the European Union, concludes the Prime Minister. After the adoption of the new waste law, the Minister of Environment inspected a paper recycling company in Durrës in order to show that the government has all the necessary capacities to provide a clean environment. According to the minister, 40,000 people have been hired in the recycling industry, but this sector has faced difficulties for several years as it cannot find the raw materials. Waste importing will not be made for any profit, but solely to stimulate the recycling industry. Penalizing it will only damage the Albanian economy and people. The Minister of Environment calmed the citizens, declaring that there is no risk from importing waste within the approved list. We should increase the standard of checks, which is completely possible. Only through cooperation and understanding is this possible. We should stay away from the extreme language. It does not bring productivity and development, the minister added. The owner of the paper recycling company declared that the imported waste will be 100% recyclable. During his visit to the U.S., President Bujar Nushani met with representatives of the Albanian diaspora in Manhattan, to whom he expressed his appreciation for their patriotism and willingness to maintain the Albanian national identity and spirit alive. My highest consideration to the hundreds and thousands of Albanians anywhere in the United States, for your families which taught you not only to have respect for your ancestors, but gave to you the respect and pride of being an Albanian. This tradition will continue in the days, months, years, decades, and centuries to come in the friendship between Albania and the United States, declared Nishani. President Nishani awarded some diaspora personalities who have contributed to their homeland with medals. It is a special pleasure to be among my compatriots who have come here to build a better life for themselves, but did not forget where they come from and who they are. You have always worked hard, and thanks to you, today we can proudly say, I am Albanian, declared Nishani. At the end of the reception, the Association of Albanian Police Officers in the United States expressed its gratitude and appreciation to President Nishani for his support of the Albanian American law enforcement community across America. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Mari, and on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.